Did you know, Daddy Brad, if you go to Sweden, you can find spanking in the penal code because it's illegal.
Yeah, well, knowing the Swedes, I assume so. And speaking of Sweden, this episode is brought to you by Baby Bjorn, Architect Certified Safe for Your Baby. Baby Bjorn, and this comfort carrier, Daddy Clay, is organic.
So today we're continuing our conversation with Dr. Elizabeth Gershoff, who's talking about opinions and views of spanking around the globe.
The first country to ban corporal punishment was Sweden in 1979, and since then around 30 countries have banned all corporal punishment, so that's in schools, institutions, and in homes. And this in part comes from the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, which says that children have the right to be protected from violence. And the European community and the UN have decided that spanking and corporal punishment falls under that those are considered violence. That's a big concern, particularly here in the US, that parents would go to jail under these spanking bans. And that is not the intention of the laws. The law's intention are usually education. So the idea is to try to encourage parents not to spank their kids and to use other methods. So, for example, in Sweden, it's not a part of their criminal law, it's part of their family law. And so they instituted a big education campaign. They did things like put information on the back of milk cartons so that kids would see it. They sent pamphlets home to every family. Some of the countries have made it part of their criminal law, so there could be ramifications. And this is true in New Zealand. There was a big concern that parents would be going to jail for spanking their kids. And so when they passed the ban in New Zealand 2-3 years ago now, the police department was very involved in the law and how to administer it. And so they've been keeping track for the last several years on how many cases have been coming through under the spanking ban. And it turns out the only ones that come to the police attention are actually abuse, but nobody's been arrested for just spanking. What I think about as an example is the laws that we now have against violence against women. 30, 40, 50 years ago, it was perfectly acceptable for, maybe not perfectly acceptable, but it was acceptable for men to hit their wives. And that was kind of thought to be in the home. We are not going to get involved. Whatever they do is their business. But there became a movement to protect those women, and the idea that was actually wrong, and it was not okay for somebody to hit his wife. She was not his property, she has rights, and she could not be hit. And now we have a law against it. As a country, we don't like to have the government involved in families very much. We don't like the government telling us how to raise our kids or how to do things in our home. And so there is still this kind of belief that children are the property of their parents, so parents can do whatever they want with them. There has never been a Supreme Court decision about spanking in the home. So we don't know what the court would say about that. They have ruled that corporal punishment in schools is legal. Just like we don't yell and hit our boss when we're mad at them or our husband or our wife, it is not okay to yell and hit our kids when we're mad with them. The most we can do is, preparing our kids ahead of time, telling them what we expect of them, all these kind of positive guidance things that we can do to prevent the need to kind of really have to punish the kids. I think yelling often means kind of being real mean and saying mean things to the child. If you can avoid saying those kind of mean things and talking only about the child's behavior and how you're disappointed in the child's behavior, that they made that choice that was unfortunate and that behavior is going to have consequences, but you still love that child as a person. It's just that behavior you're not so crazy about.
You know, Daddy Brad, Dr. Gershoff makes lots of good points. I'm convinced I do not want to be a spanker.
Good.
I've done it in the past out of desperation, but no more. I'm taking the no spanking pledge. I am not a spanker, Daddy Brad, and I hope you will join me.
No, because I don't spank in the first place. Never have spanked my children. That's why I use the Baby Bjorn comfort carrier, Architect Certified Safe for Your Baby. This thing, Daddy Clay, is for caring and non-violent parents.
So we want to hear from you about your thoughts on spanking. So leave a comment here on this video or join us at DadLabs.com and take the no spanking pledge. Pledge that you will never be a spanker.
Or just continue not to. That's all for us here this week in the lab. Take care.